Hey guys, it's Holly and I'm here with my dad,
Hi,
David
everybody.
Tuggy. Renowned linguist,
Right, yeah.
Polyglot,
Yeah.
and he specializes in English,
Okay.
Spanish, and Nahuatl, which is Aztec. Can you say it's the same thing or no?
Well, I would say the Aztecs spoke a kind of Nahuatl, and some other Nahuatl speakers would just as soon not be identified with the Aztecs, but that's okay.
Okay.
Sure, it's Aztec. It's Aztecan, that's the official name for the language family.
And why is it called Nahuatl?
Because in some dialects or some variants of the language, they use the word Nahuatl to mean their language. Most of them don't, actually. They call it Mexicatlahtoli, a Mexican word. The name Mexico is a Nahuatl word. And others they would say Tomasehuatlahtol, which is kind of like our indigenous language. I don't know how to translate it exactly, but
That's
where it
beautiful.
goes. Yes.
Tomasehuatlahtol? That was horrible.
Tomasehuatlahtol.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, the language that my dad speaks is spoken generally in Veracruz. That's actually where my parents live. And
In the area south of the city of Orizaba, so sometimes they call it Orizaba, Nahuatl. There is a town kind of central there that's Songolica, so sometimes they say Nahuatl de la Sierra de Songolica. The name itself, by the way, sometimes they spell it Nahuatl. That HU is just a W, so think of it as Nahuatl. That's
and
it.
the TL at the end is also a little bit
The
difficult to
TL is a
pronounce.
little difficult to pronounce. Think of it as like a cha sound that is a T-esh, and is just the same. And if you spit at the camera, and
That's the more
lands
spit,
on
the better.
The more spit, the better. You said it right. Now what?
So today we're going to be looking into what is the longest word in Nahuatl, and if that is even a thing that we can fathom or determine.
The word that I was picking to start off with is just a stem shka. We spell it XKA, and the X is always pronounced sh, just like an SH in English. And shka means something like to toast or to, what's the right word? It can be cooking, roast, yes, roast is definitely included. It can be cooking on a comal, or comal is a big flat
Metallic surface.
metallic or ceramic.
Oh,
They
that's
make
right.
them out of
Clay.
out of clay. And then they cook tortillas on them. That's the main thing you cook on them. But you cook a lot of things too. And then anything that you cook without putting it in liquid or in grease. So you're not boiling or frying it. The verb is shka. But you can't just say shka. Any verb you have to say who did it and to whom or to what. So you can say, for instance, nikishka. The ni is I, the ki is it. And nikishka means I toast it, or I roast it, or I cook it dry.
I it roast, and it's one word.
Yeah, and it's one word. Yeah, I it roast. That's right. And then you can also put in a tla, which means something that I'm not going to tell you.
Oh.
So it's an unspecified object. And sometimes I don't tell you because you already know. Why should I tell you? It's the obvious thing, the thing everybody would expect. So tlashka means, or nitlashka in this case, I roast the normal thing, the thing that would be expected. And it depends on where you live, which one is going to be thought of first. But one of the ones that's going to be thought of might be a tortilla. Another one might be just corn that's parched on the comal. But if you stick an L on the end of it, the L means that it's the thing that something was done to. So if tlashka means to roast the unspecified thing, tlashkalli will be that unspecified thing that you roasted. And that is the word that they use all over the Nahuatl-speaking area for tortilla. That's the normal word for tortilla, tlashkalli. And it shows up in some names. There's a state and a city called Tlaxcala, or Tlaxcala. They pronounce it with different ways, but it's got the X written in there, and that shows that way back in the time of the Spanish conquest, it was pronounced with an esh.
Tlaxcala is a state?
Tlaxcala, yeah, the state of Tlaxcala.
I thought it was a city.
It's almost surrounded by the state of Puebla.
Okay.
And its capital is the city of Tlaxcala.
Okay.
And the Malinche volcano is in Tlaxcala.
Oh.
So that's the tortilla place. The name means that in Nahuatl. So that's Tlaxcalli. Well, you can stick an ova on the end of it, and ova, or o, it's got various forms, but that suffix means make a verb out of the noun. Okay. It's sort of like the suffix ify in English. So if you say verbify something, that means make a verb out of it. And if you say
objectify someone,
objectify somebody, you don't want to do that, right? But if you tortillify something,
what could that mean?
Yeah, tlaxcalova.
You flatten it?
That's very close, because it does mean to slap or to hit with the palm.
Okay.
Because that's the way they make tortillas. In some places they make it with one palm against the other, and others they put it on the table and pound it out. But either way, they make their tortillas in that way, by pounding, by slapping.
Tortillifying. So what's the word for tortillifying in Nahuatl again?
Tlaxcalova. Tlaxcalova means I give it a slap.
And does that have an object or no?
Yes, the ka was the object. But you can also stick in another object, which is a part of the thing that you are slapping. So it's kind of like in English, slap him on the... You
Right,
can put whatever body part. But you still already have him as the object, and you can also have the shoulder. You slap him on the shoulder, slap him on the face.
Daddy, be good to yourself.
I'm not hurting myself. I know better than that.
It sounded so harsh.
Okay. You can also put in a noun that means the thing that you slap with. So, nikmatlashkalova is I slap it with my hand. It could also be I slap him on the hand. Or both.
Nikmatlashkalova.
Noma is my hand.
Okay.
I thought of this because recently I ran a program on a translation project. We're doing some Bible translation and came up with the longest word so far. It was 15 syllables long. And one of the components of it is that stem, tlashkalova, but it's with the L the second time. The L is there at the end of tlashka, tlashkalli, and then tlashkalolli would be the thing that has been slapped. And you have the ma in front of it. So that's matlashkalolli is the thing that is slapped with the hand. And then on top of that, they put tlatiquina, which is a stem that means something like thump or pound or make a thumping sound. But it's a loudish noise that is made usually on something resonant. It's also used of thunder. So if the sky is doing this, it is thundering, making kind of a rolling boom, boom, boom sound.
So the noise is important.
The noise is important. It is a sound word more than a contact word, yes. And it's part of a whole raft of Nahuatl words for making cool sounds. It's fun to play with those. But anyway, so then, matlashkaloltlatiquinalli is a thing that is made to thump by being slapped with the hand.
Wow, okay.
And then there is a stem tlatzotzona, which is to play an instrument, but it's a percussion or a stringed instrument. It's one that you play by striking, as opposed to one that you play by blowing, like a trumpet. That would be a tlapitzalli. So this word then has all of those together with a prefix in, which means there, belonging to them, and a suffix van, which means a bunch of them.
And so those, when you say prefix and suffix, it goes at the very beginning and the very end.
It goes at the very beginning and the very end, and it kind of binds it all together in a group. So for instance, if you say ma is hand and imavan means his hands, or inmavan would mean their hands. The in is there and the van is plural. Well then if they say inma tlashkalolis tlatiquina tlatzotzomban, that means the musical instruments that they slap to make them make a thumping sound.
That's all?
That's all, yeah.
But I mean, just to arrive at slap, you have to go through the tortilla, which you arrived there by talking about roasting, the thing that we all know.
That's right.
And at the end, you have this crazy
At the end, you have this crazy 15-syllable word, and it means they're tambourines.
That's so crazy.
It was used in Exodus 15, where Miriam and the Israelite women were playing their tambourines as they sang a song of triumph about the victory over the Egyptians at the Red Sea. Well,
wow, that verse is going to be really long.
It is, unless they decide at some point, you know what, let's just say impanderofan and take pandero from Spanish, which is the word for tambourine. So.
And can you add the im and the van at the end of
each
Spanish word?
Yes, you can. I just did. Pretty much, yes. Any Spanish noun that would fit in there, you could put in and van around it. That's the longest one in the translation so far, but it's not the longest one possible. It would be quite easy to take that whole noun and then stick it in as object to a verb, and the verb could be a compound verb, so you get another 5 syllables or so out of that. And then you could put on a bunch of special prefixes about whether you did it coming or going, and whether you did it by surprise or not, and various things of that sort. And then on the end you could stick a whole bunch of stuff about whether you did it now or in the past or in the future, or whether it really happened or might have happened or would have happened or should have happened, or whether you did it as you went, as you walked, or what they call aspectual markers. You could easily make that thing into 25 syllables.
Wait, that means it's impossible to create a dictionary with all of the possible words.
That is
like
correct.
Trying to make a dictionary of all the possible paragraphs you could write or something.
That's very close to what it's like, yes. All the possible sentences at least, or all the possible clauses. And you can't make them all. So what you wind up doing is collecting a lot of text and then saying, this one is attested here, this one is attested there, and here are the patterns that they show, and this is the way you can build more, but these ones have been used.
But good luck
there
with
we
that.
are. Good luck with that.
But is there a dictionary of prefixes and suffixes then?
Yes, the dictionary that I'm working on, certainly. I have to put in the prefixes and suffixes. Yeah, absolutely. And some of them are very much like lexical entries also, as if they were separate words. For instance, there's a word, qua, which means head. And it shows up over and over. There are dozens and dozens of stems that have qua in them, but you can't use it by itself. So it's like a prefix in that way. It only occurs before verbs.
Because you can't just say head without saying whose it is.
Well, there's that, but you also have to use, in this particular case, a different word. They use tzonteco, which kind of means your hair gourd. The tecomatl is a gourd, like a calabaza, what do you call it?
Yeah.
And so your head gourd is the
squash or something.
The squash, yeah. So that's the way the language works. And if you say qua with the meaning head, it's got to be in that position just before a verb sim. And the language is full of stuff like that. It's so beautiful. I love it.
People say that it's not complex enough to be called a language. That's insane.
It is insane. It is far more, but it is not unique in that. Every language that you ever find, the people use it enough that they talk about whatever they want to talk about, and it becomes an instrument that they can use to talk about everything. They are all sufficiently complex in that way. And to look down on some of them because you don't like what they were like, that seems like such a pitiable thing. One fact that a lot of people never have the idea of is that the first dictionary that was written in Náhuatl and the first grammar that was written in Náhuatl was published in 1547, I think. It might have been 46. This is like within 50 years of Columbus discovering America, and it was published with Latin letters written by a Franciscan, I think it was Franciscan, a priest basically, and he wrote this, and this was 4 years before the first grammar or dictionary was published of French.
Wow.
We think of French, as this wonderful world-class language, and it is. It's a wonderful language, but so's Náhuatl.
Yeah. So based on what you're telling us, I think it's safe to assume that it's pretty much impossible to determine what the longest word is in Náhuatl.
It is, yes.
We could be at it all day long.
You could always add another bit or two and make it a little bit longer.
Well, Daddy, you have your work cut out for you with the
I do. It's
continuing
fun.
the translation.
It's a wonderful job.
I hope you guys enjoyed this small insight into the world of Náhuatl language. Hopefully soon we can do a class on how to say things like hello and goodbye. But for now, I think this is leaving us pretty fascinated. So thank you, Daddy.
Okay. Goodbye.
How do we say bye?
Makwali Shietokan is a good way to say it. May you all be well.
Perfect. Makwali Shietokan.
There you go.
Bye.